Kon Hokaze is an average gamer. While playing his favorite MMORPG, he is defeated by an evil dragon that takes the advantage and knocks him out while he is charging up for a major attack. He then encounters a female player with a seductive avatar. After becoming friends with her, he not only assumes that the real player is equally attractive but also that he has finally found love. The slender beauty asks whether Kon can do something very important for her before he can suggest that they meet in real life. Elsewhere, a military unit attacks a group of travelers for an unknown purpose. Kon suddenly descends from the sky while still seated in his chair, and without shoes on as they are trapped and bound. Kon manages to make enough of a disturbance by landing on top of Variation, the group's leader. His landing creates destruction that enables the travelers to flee. The three passengers introduce themselves as Princess Ekarlate, a warrior named Sanglane, and Mariandel, a girl who's revealed to be a guy. The three explain that Ekarlate has hired Kon as her third bodyguard since she is on her way to getting married as part of a pact that her country's military wants to stop. They must work together to get the princess to her wedding. In the city, they end up battling against Overpowered Dukakis, the militant leader of Incognito faction, who wants to halt the establishment of peace in the kingdom. During the fight, Sanglane attacks him head-on while Mariandel offers support with her guns. However, Overpowered soundly defeats them with one blow of his fire sword. Overpowered then attacks Kon and destroys his sword with one blow. Despite this, Kon still rises again, convinced that he won't die a virgin. While Overpowered is charging up for his strike, Kon takes advantage of the delay and strikes a low blow to the groin, defeating Overpowered. Then Kon steals Overpowered's Almagear sword, and as they are continuing with their journey, Princess Ekarlate appoints Kon as her knight. After Kon's cheap shot, Overpowered wakes up in a hospital to find that one of his testicles has been removed, and he swears revenge on Kon. Later, Sir Overpowered summons his troops so that they can continue with their evil plan to stop the war. However, during the debriefing, the men cannot stop mentioning balls in their conversations. These highly irritate Overpowered since he feels the conversations are targeting his misfortunes. Kon and Sanglane test out their recently obtained Almagear sword back in town, but they're unsure how to activate its ability. Then the princess takes Kon on top of a tower where they can see a whole town. Princess Ekarlate explains to him that their world is perfectly balanced, and to maintain that balance, she must wed politically. She then requests Kon's help to protect her until they reach the capital. Then Overpowered arrives, driving a tank and destroying the town. He sends out his subordinates to flash out Kon and the others. Variation finds them and flashes them out with a grenade. Kon and the group find themselves at the town square where Overpowered is situated. The situation looks grim, and Kon is about to die when Overpowered shoots a missile at him. However, he misses the target owing to his unbalance brought on by losing one of his testicles. Kon is left to defend the princess when Sanglane cuts the tires of the chariot. Kon then considers leaving the princess entourage, but his commitment is once more put to the test. He draws out the Alma sword, which now, for some reason, has started working. The sword lights up and transforms into a sword hammer. Kon swings the hammer and destroys the Overpowered tank. Overpowered then rushes at him, however, he can't run straight. Kon notices his imbalance and figures out the cause. He then dodges Overpowered's attack and strikes another low blow to his nut, knocking Overpowered out. The army then retreats. Overpowered awakens in the hospital again, only to learn that his second testicle had to be removed due to his fight with Kon. As a result, he decides to take an indefinite leave of absence from his position. In the meantime, a tiny animal with blue fur materializes in the path of the princess and her party. Kon wants nothing to do with the creature and makes an unsuccessful attempt to scare it away. The following day, Kon wakes up to find the cute monkey animal on his bed. He tries to shoo it away, but the rest of the party comes in. They then decide to vote on whether to keep the animal. With a vote of 3 against 1, Kon loses the vote, and the cute monkey animal joins the party. Kon, however, cannot agree with the decision and tries to get rid of the monkey creature, but the plan fails miserably. He then discloses his past incident involving another pet and how the relationship went wrong. He tells the party this is why he doesn't want anything to do with the monkey animal. The party urges him to open his heart and give the cute monkey animal a chance. However, it ends up biting him, and they get into an all-out assault. The monkey animal wins when it strikes Kon on the face. In the end, the monkey creature joins the journeying party. After disagreeing about what to call the monkey-like creature that has taken up residence at the party, Kon decides to call it Pet. Overpowered returns home with Variation while recovering from his wound when he finds his fiancée Emilia waiting for him. Emilia brings out a lotion to apply on Overpowered since she heard he was injured in his time away. However, Erecpile cannot bring himself to reveal the full extent of his wounds. Later, Limpus and Gabriella Daskas, nobles from a disgraced family, visit Erecpilat's home. They devise a scheme to restore their family reputation by seducing Erecpile into marrying Gabriella. They lure Erecpile into drinking an aphrodisiac, and Gabriella tries to seduce him into sleeping with her. However, this fails because of his condition. For their plan, Gabriella fakes that Erecpile tried to force himself on her. Limpus walks in and demands a duel to defend his sister's honor. For the terms of the duel, they agreed that if Erecpile lost, he would give them all his riches. If he won, they would leave his home, and they would tell the truth about the framing. When the duel begins, Erecpile must face off against 7 men and a bird-like monster. Luckily, after losing both his balls, his balance has returned. He makes quick work of the men but struggles to defeat the monster. The monster attacks Emilia, who comes to cheer for her fiancé. At that moment, Erecpile feels a surge of power and starts to glow. He defeats the monster. Limpus tries a low blow to his groin when Erecpile is not looking. However, this attack fails since he can no longer feel that pain. Erecpile knocks out Limpus, winning the duel. To combat Ecarlate, a mysterious religious organization decides to let loose a serial killer named Jorg. Meanwhile, Mariandale and Sanglane are both surprised to see a cowlick blooming on Ecarlate's head as the group stops for a break in another town. For fear of what may happen if they irritate her during her hyperactive phase, they promptly rent out the entire inn and pander to her every whim. Later in the evening, Jorg tries to kill Ecarlate by breaking into the inn, but he is beaten by each bodyguard and unintentionally awakens Ecarlate's hyperactive form. Ecarlate goes on a rampage, destroying parts of the inn and scaring Kon off. Ecarlate and her party pause at the Tamatsukure hot springs and has the chance to unwind in style. Kon discovers that the spring is boosting his libido and gets out to stop it. The situation is made worse by the fact that Erecpile is also visiting the spring to reclaim his lost libido. He then spends almost the entire day hiding from him. However, the situation worsens when his skin starts to glow as a side effect of the spring. He tries to get rid of the glow, but nothing seems to work. He then decides to go back to the spring and crosses paths with Erecpile. Kon then uses a cheap shot to defeat Erecpile once more and send the group fleeing in the middle of the night. Kon tries to hide his glowing power but is unable to do so. The party wraps him in bandages to make him less conspicuous. However, when they eat, a few villagers see Kon's glowing mouth and mistake him for a god. The rumor that their god might have visited their village spreads like wildfire. Soon the villagers strip him naked to see the glow. Then they all bow down and claim that Kon is their god. Kon's new secret is made known when the group enters the following settlement. To play along, he adopts the identity of the god Konpika and instructs them using his understanding of video games, which his party helps him translate. Unfortunately, as Konpika's fan base grows, they threaten to launch a bloody crusade against the Ulgar religious sorority, requiring Kon to devise a plan to end his own legend before it gets out of hand. He ends up commanding his followers to build a monumental temple in his honor. He also makes Sanglane construct a hot air balloon. Kon, acting as a god, addresses his people one last time before shining bright enough to heat the balloon and sailing into the sky, claiming he has returned to heaven. With the aid of Alma Flora, Erecpile locates a fresh piece of Alma gear. As they wait for Erec to arrive, the members of his incognito team go out to drink, and they start arguing over who is his right-hand man. They then decide to hunt a dragon-like creature, and whoever deals the killer blow wins the hunt and is declared the right hand of Erecpile. Each of them deals a significant blow to the dragon when the fight begins, but despite their attempts, they are unable to kill. It then flees, and they decide to follow it upon catching up to it. The dragon creature has evolved. All of its cut-off parts have regenerated and grown twice the size it was. The dragon shoots a fireball, knocking them all out. In the nick of time, Erecpile shows up with his new Alma sword. He shoots off a beam of light that instantaneously blows away the dragon. Kon misses his old life and wants to return to its comforts. When the group gets to an inn, he makes a fake video game controller out of wood and pretends to play games on the wall in his room, so he doesn't have to leave. Mariandale tries to make a Snack Donald's hamburger meal, which Kon likes until he finds out what is in the food. Later, Marion gives him a sexy picture book, but that doesn't work either. Then Sanglane puts him in a fight ring underground. In his first round, Kon has to fight against 5 other contenders. Kon mostly dodges their attacks during the fight and waits for them to knock each other out. Finally, for the last man standing, Kon decides on his famous low blow kick to the balls. For the final fight, Kon must go up against Bloodheart, who uses a chainsaw as his weapon. When the fighting begins, Kon mostly dodges Bloodheart's attacks. However, Bloodheart manages to corner him. Desperately, Kon draws out his hammer, smashing the ground. The attack's impact tears a hole in the ring, and Kon takes the opportunity to run for his life. Finally, for the last man standing. Later, Kon declares that his friends are going to kill him if he doesn't get out of his funk. After Kon and his group spend the night in an abandoned castle, Erecpile and his incognito unit pull a surprise attack on them. The party finds themselves in a situation where they must fight a small army. Even worse, Erecpile has given his lieutenants special DDoS weapons that make them stronger. When Kon and Erecpile's weapons clash, they generate a blast that knocks Kon's group off a cliff, and each side takes a hostage from the other group. Mariandale is killing time in Erecpile's camp while Kon gets Leon to tell him some secrets about his unit. Then, he sets up a hostage exchange by giving Leon back in exchange for Marian. But he also sets up a trap for Erecpile's unit at the castle. After luring the incognito unit into several traps, Kon tries to trick Erecpile into not attacking him. But Erecpile calls his bluff and fires a big energy beam from his sword. In the end, only Kon's headphones and Ecarlate's flower are left by their owners. After the previous fight at the abandoned castle, Kon and Ecarlate are presumed dead, and Erecpile thinks his mission was a success. But Gustave isn't so sure. To confirm his theory, Gustave decides to watch Sanglane and Mariandale to see if they contact DT again. KT watches Gustave to make sure he isn't going to host S-clubs instead. After keeping an eye on their hotel for a while, Gustave ends up conversing with Mariandale for a while at a local pub. After the talk, he is convinced that Kon and Ecarlate are dead. When packing their things to leave the surveillance room, Gustave spies on Sanglane one last time, only to discover they are not in their rooms. Gustave and KT decide to look for them, finally finding the bodyguards meeting on the edge of town. They find out that they are at Kon and Ecarlate's funeral. Gustave finally accepts that their mission is over and Kon and Ecarlate are dead. After the burial ceremony, Sanglane and Mariandale head for the wilderness and meet up with Kon and Ecarlate. So, they are alive, and Kon faked their deaths. They pulled off their plan by using a big mirror they found in the castle. The group is glad that Erecpile and his incognito unit think they are dead and that they don't have to worry about being followed to the capital. Meanwhile, an odd girl named Miranda starts to have crazy ideas about Kon after she accidentally runs into him. Miranda believes that Kon is her one true love. In her head, Kon is dating her, and they have a fully fledged relationship. Then after seeing Kon talk with Mariandale, she is filled with anger that Kon is cheating on her and attacks him. She repeatedly attacks him until they decide to have a duel. If Miranda wins the duel, then Kon must confess his love for her. During the fight, Kon holds out his attack. This allows Miranda to see him as weak and pummels him. After she wins the fight, Miranda declares Kon is weak and unfit to date her. Afterward, the party gets back on the road and continues with their journey. This is all for this anime. Give the video a like, and I will see you in the next minutes.